Today, I want to quickly talk about something that has helped all of my games and maybe it can help yours too. It cuts back on a lot of issues I'll go over and it adds something unique to your group dynamic and the balance of the game. First, let's remind ourselves of the three ability score methods presented in the player's handbook. The first method is the standard array. I actually don't hate the standard array, but a lot of people do because it's just kind of boring. It can be useful for sharing builds online or getting a group started quickly, but in most actual campaigns, people aren't going to want something standardized and plain, and that's fine. Which brings us to the next method and probably my second preferred method, point buy. Point buy offers you the flexibility to assign the stats you need in a fair way. I say fair here because every player has the same opportunity to make the same exact numbers if they just so happen to. The only issue with point buy comes in the practical application. I've seen a lot of new players, and especially younger players in my professional games, not really get the point buy table, simple though it may seem. It's not the most intuitive tool, and it does favor the players who are power gamers or know exactly what builds they want to play ahead of time. Overall, point buy is good, but not perfect. And then there's rolling for stats. Here's some stats I rolled just for this video. Now, for a lot of tables in my experience, this is the preferred method, the true D&D experience. After all, we all refer to rolling up a new character. As fun as it is to try your luck and do what the dice tell you, there are problems with trusting luck. While the stats I rolled here are admittedly pretty sweet, that's not always going to be the case. You could wind up with an array worse than standard and be stuck with it. Imagine having to trudge through a campaign with substandard stats all because of 6 rolls you made before the game even started. But then we get to the worst issue with rolling for stats, and that is that your stats do not exist in a vacuum, they exist alongside the other player's rolled stats. Which brings me to the second pair of stats I rolled for this video. Not so good as you can see. We do have a 14, sure, but the first player has a 16 that is going to really help them through our entire journey together, and it means that they are statistically more likely to succeed on their main ability more than we are through the entire campaign. And that's not even as bad as it could be. I didn't roll these next stats, but these arrays are possible. Some player at some table somewhere has rolled stats like these. And if the players or the DM are inflexible, they have to stick with them for the whole game or until their characters die. Now, there's arguments to be made about the realism of characters having different skill levels and the fun to be had in disparate tables, but they're just that, arguments. I like to avoid arguments at my tables, and unfortunately, I have played at tables where bad stats led to feels bad moments down the road, and those moments were completely avoidable if we hadn't been insistent on the luck of 6 rolls made before the game even started. So, what's my solution to this? You want the fun of rolling? Okay, let's roll. But when we roll, we're all going to share the results. That's it, it's that simple. This makes for a fun session zero event, passing around 4 dice to generate the array for the whole group. No one gets left behind, no one gets overpowered rolls, your encounter balance gets easier because everyone has similar stats, and there's still some variation in the numbers based on where everyone puts their stats and their ability score bonuses. Anytime I've brought up this method, people have always gone for it, and there were no complaints down the road. I highly recommend you try this out at your next game to make for a better start to your campaign. That is all for today. Have a nat 20 day. Bye bye.